Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Analytics Mindset. In this time, we are going to look into the Generative AI overview for project managers by the Project Manager Institute. And as always, this does not belong to me. It is from the PMI. All the content is from the PMI. This is going to be actually a smaller course, shorter video than usual because there is a lot of overlap with previous content. I will put the other videos on our Gen AI series somewhere over here. But without further ado, I will look at this and show you how it looks like. And you can see here that mostly it talks about how do you use Gen AI for work, particularly project management, but it applies to other scenarios too. They talked a little bit about how you can use, especially in the practical part of it when we talk through it, how you can use these Gen AI agents and also the prompts to help you in your day-to-day work or facilitate some other assistant features that you may have. Now, this course will take you around 5 hours. That's what PMI says. I don't think so. I think this is just a lot smaller than the other ones. There is multiple ways to start, but I will start with the introduction to Gen AI. We don't need to look into it. We have already looked in before. Something that you need to be aware of that I have mentioned in the past, but not as much, is the human in the loop approach. You should always have a human somewhere supervising the Gen AI output, especially if you're going to use that Gen AI output for something. Gen AI outputs are stochastic. That means that you can actually change things around. It will change if you do it multiple times, especially if you don't have grounded sources. That's where having grounded sources and having grounding will help you quite a lot on improving your Gen AI outputs. Particularly for project management, and I will only show these slides here, there is multiple parts that you need to be aware on project management, like easily adaptability. You can offer versatility, and you can also gain a competitive edge compared to other tools. But for sure, for a project, the biggest part is just save time. You can save a lot of time and also make informed decisions. That is something else that you may not be aware of, but a lot of the Copilot has a researcher feature that goes into hundreds, sometimes dozens, depending on the topic that you want to get of sources and summarizes it for you. It is a very powerful tool to have, especially if you don't have the time to go through every single one of them. Give me an outline of current practices in project management. If you go to the Copilot Researcher, it will give you a very detailed overview of that. Or you can take it to the next level. Let's say I was just looking around for how much Amazon stock for one is performing, how it has performed since January 1st, 2026. I can get Gen AI to do that for me. I can get it to do all these things very easily, and it will do it faster than if I could do it. I could do it as well, but it will just take a lot of time, and it can get you a very big competitive edge when you need to research things and you just don't have the time for it. On the next section, you have the power skills, business acumen, and ways of working. I won't go that much into detail on it, but those are the three that the PMI basically wants you to be aware of. Um, I will just go straight into the voice of the PM. This is where you have people actually telling you how things have gone through Copilot, and I provide part of my personal experience. For me, Gen AI is very good at, as I said before, in especially in niche topics. Personally, I use it a lot for historical events or just to learn more history. For a professional context, I use it to just as a Stack Overflow. How do I do this syntax here? Qualify. How does qualify work? How does this compare with this? Or, hey, I built this query by myself in like 3 minutes. Please run it 10 times and see what it can improve, your recommendations, and make sure that you actually run it, especially if you have integration with your querying system, in my case, BigQuery. It can be very powerful too. Meeting wise, I am not really that sold yet. Gen AI really relies, especially it seems to have some issues when you join from a conference room because it will just put you to the conference room. My experience is that recording tools, especially Zoom and Teams, are not really well positioned to hybrid meetings. It is good for an actual fully remote meeting, but when you have half of your people in one room and then the rest joining remotely, it struggles quite a bit with the context. It mixes things around because it just puts everybody in the room in the same bucket. Is that going to change? I don't think so. But I feel maybe with the companions now that you can extend it to from the Zoom room to your actual terminal. But again, at least for me, the meeting a assistant really struggles quite a bit when you have a lot of people. When you have only one person or two, it's not an issue, but it is when you have these hybrid meetings. Create a project charter. There is some especially with the PMI Infinity, you can do a lot of this project management stuff directly there. You can say, give me the recommendations of the PMI book. What will the PMI book recommend me for this? How can I do this? How can I manage this project? What are some risks that I need to consider? What is the scope creep that I may have here? All these things can be very useful if you have them there. You have the ChatGPT Lab. This is basically them walking through you on very different artifacts from project management and say put them into your preferred tool and see what happens. See what the prompt is. And again, I won't show it to you because I don't want PMI striking my channel. But you can say, give me the risk for this project, create user stories. You can say, create me personas. What are the personas that I need to keep engaged in this project? What is my project schedule? Can you calculate for me the actual critical path? Can you calculate how much slack I have here and there? But again, just be careful because, especially with math, Gen AI struggles sometimes with math. You always need to double check on that. Power Interest Grid goes more into the softer side of project management, but for analytics, I want to bring it back as you want to be aware of who your stakeholders are, who has influence over your project, who cares about your project, and the different matrices between them. You can have people that have a lot of power over your project and other people that are very interested in your project. And a stakeholder that is in both of them, you need to manage them carefully. But somebody that doesn't have a lot of power over your project and is not very interested in your project, you really don't just need to keep them informed or high level overview. When you work on multiple projects, this becomes a lot more difficult because even though in the experiment, the ideal scenario of PMI, each project will be a different, totally different. You will have all of them separately, and obviously you will have them following the pen book best practices, recommended practices. But the truth is, project management is a very practical application and field. You will always have projects that overlap with each other. Then you have this stakeholder asked me about this project, but they also are involved in this other project. These two projects are related on this issue because they stem from the same one, or maybe they solve the same thing. All of these things are very important to keep in mind, especially when you keep adding more and more stakeholders because you have more and more projects and you just need to manage that complexity. Buka is a very I won't go into it right now, but the uncertainty and the variety of things can really make things very complicated. There is that uncertainty of, do I need to keep this stakeholder here? Maybe the stakeholder doesn't have much interest in my projects, but has a lot of influence, and it has a lot of influence in both of them. Therefore, if the priorities shift, they might also be very interested in your projects. And that is a revaluation that Gen AI can help you quite a lot to do. You can say to Gen AI, I have these projects, they overlap to each other. And the best part is that Gen AI is pretty good at giving you another perspective. It will give you something different. That's also how I use it. It's not a parrot, it will actually sometimes call you out. Yes, ChatGPT usually agrees too much with you, but most of the other models will actually say you may consider these other approaches, or are you sure about this? And I find that very useful, especially when I'm not working in the same projects as my coworkers, because I can just give these chatbots small. This is what my project consists on. Let me know if I have any blind points that I might need to consider given on similar projects that are in the internet. That for me adds a lot of value because it brings a very different opinion, and then I can think about it too. Augmentation, not replacement. It helps me just getting other points of views that I would not get otherwise. And you can also give it a role. You can say, okay, I want you to evaluate this project. Let's say that I have a project that is involved with construction and I don't have a lot of experience with construction. But think about it as a civil engineer, and then I will have the chatbot having that role of a civil engineer that has a lot of implications and is very useful for me because it will help me getting that. It will help me being able to say, you may consider this based on the best civil engineering practices. And as I am not that familiar with it, let's say I'm just building a dashboard for a civil engineering company contract that's contracting my company. They will give me that, the chatbot will give me that context, and then I can always rephrase and enhance my project, my work using that. But yeah, and with that, the AI tool library is just a lot of different AI tools that you could have, like Copilot, planning, prototyping. It will give you a lot of recommendations for each of them. My recommendations are a little bit overboard. A lot of these are paid, and yes, you don't want to pay for that much, but especially if you don't have the license on it. And after that, you just need to answer 15 questions. And once you do it, you will be able to get your course badge. But yeah, that is pretty much all for today. Again, a small, shorter video. I do have a lot of videos I want to go over with. And yeah, as always, this course is only available if you are a PMI not member. It's actually free for everybody, I believe. But you want to make sure that you at least are logged in with PMI. That no, maybe not everybody wants to. But yeah, as always, let me know if any questions, any concerns, and I appreciate any support, like, comment, etc. Thank you. Have a good day.